Hi, it's John Kelly. In this module, we are going to discuss, and this is rather a long title, but the auditor's responsibilities relating to other information in documents containing audited financial statements. And as always, we want to be efficient and effective, follow professional standards, and document what we have done properly. Now, this is referring to, for example, and the most common thing that this refers to is an annual report. It could refer to other things. A detailed income statement or a management report, for instance, are suggested. But most of the time, what this section is talking about is an annual report that contains financial statements. Now, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to read the other information, in other words, the rest of the words in the document that contains the financial statements, and we are looking for material inconsistencies. And then we either fix the information or the financial statements. Not sure which one might be wrong. It could be that the annual report is right and there's a mistake in the financial statements that needs to be fixed, or the other way around. Now, what is not stated in this section but should probably be added is that we check that the financial statements and the report are accurately reproduced, and that's mentioned in the module on association. And of course, it's best if everything is fixed, and to make sure that the auditor can insist that it's fixed, it's best if it's done before the report is signed. That's not always possible. You'd have to do something else if there was a mistake and the report had already been signed. But of course, it's much easier to insist that things be fixed if you haven't got around to signing the audit report yet, so you can say, well, I'm not signing the audit report until you fix this mistake. But presumably goodwill all around. Presumably if you point out a mistake, the client's going to go, oh, we should fix that. Hopefully that's what happens. Now, if things are not fixed, of course, it's a big mess. And you would start out by telling those charged with governance, and maybe you'd have another matter paragraph in your report. Maybe you'd withhold your report. Maybe you'd resign if that was possible. Now, remember that if you are appointed auditor, you have an important duty to the shareholders to report to them. And normally you report with an unqualified opinion and says everything's okay. But if everything is not okay, you have an obligation to report that to the shareholders as well, which you would do by withholding your report or having another matter paragraph. And so you would carefully consider whether it was appropriate for you to resign if you had not advised the shareholders of this thing that you had found out in your role as auditor and that hadn't been fixed. So before you would ever resign as auditor, you would talk to a lawyer to determine whether or not it was appropriate for you to resign without reporting. Now, there's a second thing in this section. There's a very subtle distinction, and I really don't care. If I conclude that something is wrong, I want it fixed. And the subtle distinction is a material inconsistency, and that is something in the other information that contradicts something in the financial statements. And if it's not fixed, you tell those charged with governance and take some action. And that is contrasted with a material misstatement of fact, and that is something in the other information that is unrelated to the financial statements, but you as auditor somehow or other know is wrong. So I really don't care which of those two it is. If something contradicts the financial statements or is wrong, as auditor, I want it fixed. But I guess if you're in an argument or in a legal dispute, perhaps being very clear about what it is that's wrong is useful. In either case, you tell those charged with governance and take action. And of course, we're going to document this, and particularly we will be careful with our documentation if the problem is not fixed, because it's going to be a messy situation, and we'd better document what we did and thought very, very carefully. So, thanks for listening.